In this video, we're going to start the final boss battle section of this tutorial. So we're going to go through and create a full boss level. The boss is going to evolve. It's going to be able to attack the player, and we're going to use all of our existing systems to build on this. The first thing that I've done, though, is I have created this level. Yours doesn't have to look exactly like this, but I have created this level so that we have sort of like a dual layer, so our player can hop on platforms to avoid the boss, and just to have a little bit different of a tile set than what we've been using. All of the assets for this, including sound effects, everything like that, will be linked in the description as well as in the GitHub repository. Other than that, we are going to go into our player. So let's go find our player. And we're going to make a couple of adjustments. So we've, inside of our player, to bring up the scene, we made some previous adjustments to the health. I'm going to make sure that our player has double jump. I'm going to turn our max health and current health up a little bit, so it's going to be a little bit more forgiving when we're getting hit by our boss. I also want us to have double jump so that we can actually get onto the platforms and avoid the boss. I'm also going to get our collision shape, and I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger so that we can properly collide with these different types of platforms. With all that set up, we can now start working on our boss. So let's create a new node. It's going to be a character body 2D. We will rename it to boss, and we're going to need what you would think for a new character. We're going to need a sprite 2D. We're going to need a collision shape. We're going to need an animation player, and we're going to need an audio stream player. We can rename the audio stream player to our entrance music, so we're going to have specific music. I guess it's not really music, it's just entrance audio. So we're going to have a specific sound effect play when he enters the scene. So let's find, I'm using break.wave. So we can save that. We'll save our boss scene into our enemies folder. So let's create a new folder for boss, and we can save our boss in there. Ooh, I realized I put an animated sprite 2D instead of an animation player. Okay, so let's go to our sprite, and we're going to be using what I have is the Frost Guardian. So let's go to our animation tab. The H frames are going to be 16, and we're going to have 5 V frames. Zoom in a little bit. I'm just going to put him on the X-axis. Let's go ahead and set up a couple of animations for him. So let's do our idle animation, which that's just going to be the first few frames here. So we can key in this frame here. I'm going to put the snap on 0.1, and then let's just start keying in the rest of these frames. All right, so it looks like it's around 0.6. We do want this to loop, and this can be his default animation. Actually, we don't need this to autoplay though. All right, so that's his idle animation setup. We will make a new animation. Let's call this attack. And let's go ahead and move on to the next sprite. So we will be at 16. Okay, this is actually going to be walk. So let's go in and make our walk animation. Let's go, I think he's, what is it, 16? Yeah, 16. I have 0.1 on the snap. We are going to want it to loop. Let's just start keying in all these frames. Okay, let's see what this looks like. Yeah, I think that's good. He's big, so we will have that. That's okay that it looks like he's walking a little bit slow. Let's go back to our attack animation now. And let's try and find this sprite. Yeah, here we go. Okay, first frame is here. We'll do 0.1 as well. And let's key in all those frames. Okay, this is a little bit longer. Let's go to 1.5. So that's at 42, so we need the next frame to be 43. Okay, so it looks like we are at 1.3. This is not going to be looping. since he's just going to do individual strikes, so that's fine as is. And now let's make a new animation for, let's call it death. And let's see if we can go find these frames. Okay, this is actually going to be our hit animation, so let's just rename this to hit. And let's key those frames in. Was that 50? Yeah. 48, so do 48, 49. Just key in the rest of these frames. So should be at 0.6. Yeah, 0.6. Okay, that's good. Now we can make a new animation, and I think this will be our death animation now. Yeah, this should be our death animation. Let's create that, and then let's just key in the rest of these. I think this might also need to be 1.5. Is there any more? Let's go 1.8 just to make sure. So that's 79. So let's see what's at 80. Nope. Okay, so 1.5. So let's see this in full. And what we're actually going to do for our death animation, we're actually going to use that for when he appears on screen. So we're going to play this animation in reverse, and that's going to be how he appears. So it kind of looks like he's coming through the ground. All right, so let's save this. And before we can do anything, we are going to need to, we can add a script now. We're going to come back to it. We can delete all of this code for right now. Before we do that, I do want to go into our player camera script. So the way that we're going to do our player's camera script is we're going to have, when we hit a specific point in our level, it's going to trigger the camera to shake, pan over to the boss, his animation is going to play, and then it's going to shake, and then go back to our player, and then the real scene begins. So we have to make a few changes to this script in order to handle that, and we're going to need to do this before we can start building out our boss script. So let's just go ahead and handle those right now. So let's create two new variables called reveal tween. This is going to be a tween, and then var is revealing boss, which is a bool, and we'll default that to false. Then we can go down to our setup camera limits, and we're actually going to add a limit top here also, and it's going to be equal to our useDirect.position.y times 16. Then we'll go down to the bottom here, and we're going to add two new methods. One is going to be reveal boss, which gets the boss node, which is a node 2D. It's not going to return anything. And then we're also going to have a end boss reveal, which doesn't take in anything and doesn't return anything. All it's going to do is just is revealing boss equals false. We might add to this down the road, so that's why we're going to keep this as a separate method right now. In reveal boss, what we're going to do is if we are revealing the boss, we're just going to return. If we have a reveal tween, we're going to get it. We're just going to kill it. We also, above this, we do need to reset is revealing boss equal to true, since we are doing that. Then we're going to get our reveal tween. It's going to equal to create tween. We got to make a new one. Now we're going to reveal tween dot set trans tween dot trans. Here we go. We do our get our reveal tween. We set our ease. And we're going to do tween dot ease in and out. Then we need to actually pan to our boss. So we're going to get the reveal tween. We're going to do tween property. And we're going to grab our self, get the position, do position plus the boss node dot position minus the player manager dot player dot position comma 1.0. Then we're going to hold briefly and do our shake. So we're going to get the tween, do a tween callback, and then we'll do func add trauma, 0.6. We get the tween. We do a tween interval, 0.5. Then we want to pan back to 0, which is going to be our player position. So we get the tween, our tween property. Then we go to self, position, comma, vector2.0, and then 0.8, closing parentheses. Should not have that there. Then we're going to the reveal tween callback, and then we end boss reveal without the parentheses. Okay, there we go. That should be good. Okay, so now that that's done, let's go to our boss level. I have a player spawn here, so if you don't have that, make sure you do, so our player will actually appear. And I'm going to bring our boss into the level. I'm going to put him on the far right. We're actually going to go back into our boss, into the scene, and what I want to do is I'm going to go to our transform, and I'm going to put him on 0.8. So now when we're in our boss level, he's a little bit smaller, and then this is going to be fixed when we scale him up to be even bigger than his original sprite size when he evolves into his second phase of the boss. And the second phase will end up being triggered by when his health is below a certain threshold, which I think is just going to be 50% of his health. Let's add a script to our boss level. We're going to create this class name boss level, but we're going to extend our existing level class. We're going to have two signals here, which is going to be our boss battle started and our boss battle ended. And then we're going to have onReady variables for the boss and the boss music, which we need to create. So we're going to have another audio stream player. We're going to call this boss music. We will drag this as an onReady, and then we can go quick load, and we are going to get the boss music.wave. We can save that. We're also going to need what we're going to call our boss entrance trigger. So this is going to be an area 2D. We're going to have a collision shape in here. We can rename this to our boss entrance trigger as an onReady. And what this is going to be the place where when the player crosses, it's going to trigger the boss scene that we're looking to create. So I'm just going to have it right here. It's basically just got to take a couple steps and it will trigger the scene. So we can save that. Go back to the script now. And then we have two final variables, which is going to be battle started, which is a bool, which can be false. And then music tween, which is a tween. So we're going to handle the music by slowly easing it in, so it's not a harsh change from the current music into the new music. So let's get rid of these comments. We're not going to need the process method. And in our ready, we're going to super.ready. So we want to take everything from our levels ready method. And then we need to connect to this signal. So we can do that here, where we want to do when the on body entered signal. And then we can do if body is player and not battle started. That should be a lowercase s. So let's just fix that real quick. Then we start boss battle. Start boss battle. We can do if battle started, return. Otherwise, we set battle started to be true. We're going to emit our boss battle started signal. We'll get our player manager .player camera, and we are going to reveal boss. We'll pass in the boss. You just make some space here so it might be easier to see. Then we're going to add a shake. So we do player manager camera configure shake. We'll tap into our utils, shake type, and we'll do earthquake. Do the same thing. Let me copy this, make this a little bit easier for now. Add trauma 0.6. Then we're going to do an await. We're going to create our own timer. We're going to do 0.75, which is the time that I found to work well. And we will do timeout. We get our boss dot animation player. Before we can continue here, we do need to go into our boss script. And we don't need a reference sprite since we're going to extend enemy, which has a built-in sprite already in the base class. So if we go click into here, we already have the sprite referenced here. So back in our boss script, we need our animated sprite, which I'm just going to rename really quickly. We're going to need our entrance audio, and that should be it for right now. Now we can go back to our boss level, and we can finish this out. So we can do our boss, get the animation player. And before we do anything else, this is going to need to be changed to boss because we just gave it a new class name. And then we can go back down here. We can finish out the boss animation player. So boss.animation player. Did I put the wrong thing in? No, I've animated sprite. It's because I named it the wrong thing previously. So we want this to be animation player, or I had the wrong type before when I dragged it as an onReady. So now this will be better. And we can go back to our boss level, and now we will have our animation player. We're going to play backwards our death animation, and then we do boss, our entrance audio dot play, and then we're going to have a method called transition to boss music. We'll make that in a second, but before we do that, we're going to create a function called nBossBattle, and we're going to build this on this later because we're going to have a win screen, and you'll be able to either play again, it'll play specific music and display some text. So we're going to come back to this in a little bit, but let's just get this set up. So we do if not battle started, we return, otherwise battle started equals false, and then boss battle ended dot emit. Then we will make this transition to boss music method, which does not take in anything. And what we're going to do here is if we have a music tween, we're going to get the music tween and kill it. Otherwise, we need to create a new one. So we do music tween equals create tween. We're going to set parallel and set this to true. We need to get our current volume from our audio manager. So the current volume decibels, it's going to be a float, and it's going to be equal to our audio server dot get bus volume dB. We're going to get our utils dot get bus index, then we give it music. Then we get our music tween method, and this is going to get our audio manager dot adjust music volume. We do not want to pass in the parens here. We're going to pass in our current volume, and we get our audio manager dot min volume, comma 1.0. Just fix the spelling error. Then we want to get our boss music and set the volume dB equal to our audio manager dot min volume, boss music dot play. And we do our music tween a property, and we're going to do it on our boss music. We're going to set the volume dB, and we're going to do our audio manager dot default music volume 1.0. So this is going to be how we're going to actually fade in our new music. And then we want to stop our old music, so we need to await when the music tween dot finished. We go into our audio manager, our music player, and we stop. We can add one last method down here, which is going to be just a cleanup method, so we can have our level cleanup. Not going to return anything, and if we have a music tween, we kill it. And if we have boss music and it's playing, we're going to stop. And then we can super our level cleanup because we do have this method on our base level also. We have to make one more update inside of our enemy.gd. So we currently have this as an onReady right now. Our boss is not going to have bullets, so we're going to not set this equal to anything in our onReady, and we're going to create a ready method. And all we're going to do is, if the owner has the node, we pass in bullets. Bullets equals bullets. Now we won't have any errors there. So let's go actually see what this looks like. All right, so here we are. Let's see if our entrance trigger hits. It does. Okay, his reset was a little weird. We did see him first. So let's go fix that really quick. So that should be in our reset method inside of our animation player. So in this reset, we have him set to an actual frame where we can see him. So I want to actually set this to an empty frame. So we can just do 7. And then now when we go back to our boss level and play this, now he just comes out of the ground. All right, we haven't set up our hitboxes or anything like that. So in the next video, we're going to work on that, the hitboxes and hurtboxes. We're also going to work on the boss states, and so he can start attacking and evolve, set up his health system, add some more visual effects, and then we're going to set the victory conditions so we can actually get to a win screen.